You are very important. I know that you are very important because you are the product of special creation. God made you. Genesis chapters 1 and 2 give us a description of the creation of this vast universe. Everything that is made of matter has a beginning, has an origin, has a cause. There must be something that is not made of matter that is self-existent, or nothing would exist now. That which is self-existent is spirit, and that which is self-existent is God. God simply exists, always has, does now, always will. Created time, exists outside of time, works within time. God is self-existent. He is the self-existent Spirit who, by His unlimited power and intelligence, created this vast universe in which we live. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 11 shows us that God created this vast universe in 6 literal 24-hour periods. The Bible records for us a time when God spoke to a man by the name of Job. Job chapters 38 through 41. Mostly God asked Job a number of questions, and those questions were really designed to show Job two things. One was this: God is unlimited in His intelligence. And the other, God is unlimited in His power. God, by His unlimited intelligence and power, created this vast, intricately complex, mathematically precise universe in which you and I now live. Psalm 19 is an interesting chapter in the Bible, an interesting psalm. The Psalms are written poetically, and they are written, in many cases at least, to be sung as songs. Psalm 19 shows us this, verse 1, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows His handiwork." The heavens declare the glory of God. You and I can look at God's vast creation in this amazing universe, looking up even at the stars at night, and we can see the glory of God. But as we study this universe, we also see His handiwork. That is, we understand something about His creative power. I have a dog, or my daughter does. Usually at night, I'm the one that takes this dog outside before it's time for us to settle down. She's a pretty good dog. She's mostly obedient. She's mostly very friendly. Sometimes when we go out in the backyard, if it's a clear night, I can see the moon, I can see the stars. I can see so many stars, of course I can't count them. And sometimes I'll stand there looking up. And sometimes the dog will come over and sit next to me. She will look up. I don't know what she's thinking. Pretty sure she's not thinking about how amazing God's creation is. But we look up together, and we do see that. I see that anyway. God's creation is amazing. And God's creation shows how glorious He is, and it shows how powerful He is. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows His handiwork. Day unto day utters speech, and night unto night reveals knowledge. There's no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them He has set a tabernacle for the sun, which is like a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoices like a strong man to run his race. Its rising is from one end of heaven, and its circuit to the other end, and there's nothing hidden from its heat. Looking at this vast universe around us, studying this amazing universe in which we live, helps us to understand that the universe is speaking to us in this way. It's speaking to us about God's glorious power and of His intelligence in His creation. The universe is saying that in language all can understand, all that can see it, all that can study it, understand there is a God, or they can understand that from what they see. The power of God is seen in the power of the sun. The sun has its own circuit or its own orbit, and the sun puts off so much heat. The sun has great, tremendous, and amazing power. The God who created it is even more powerful than the sun itself. In Matthew chapter 19 and verse 4, Jesus Christ spoke concerning the fact that God created male and female from the very beginning of time. At the beginning, man and woman, male and female, from the beginning created as adult human beings, capable even of marriage, God's creation, God created man. John chapter 1, verses 1 through 4 shows us something I think is very interesting about the creation, and that is this: God the Son was the creative agent. God the Father gives the Word, the command. God the Son carries it out. God the Son is the Word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. John 1 and verse 14 shows us that it is a reference to Jesus Christ, the one who became flesh to dwell among us. Jesus Christ is God. Jesus Christ is the Son of God, God the Son. And He's the one that created this world. We're told there in John chapter 1, verses 1 through 4, that there is nothing made that has not been made by Him. Jesus created the universe. Jesus created mankind. In Romans chapter 1, the Apostle Paul is talking about the world around us, the universe around us, and of the fact that even though God, because He's Spirit, is not someone that we can see, we see the evidence of Him all around us in the things that He has created. In the obvious evidence of intelligence and design, we understand there is a great designer. Ephesians chapter 3 and verse 9 also tells us that God is the creator of this vast universe. Colossians chapter 1 verses 13 through 16 tells us yet again that Jesus the Christ, God the Son, is that member of the Godhead who created this vast universe. In Revelation chapter 4, in a very symbolic book, you have a symbolic vision of the throne room of God. And in verses 8 through 11, we see that God is being praised by four living creatures. They say, "Holy, holy, holy, Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come," indicating God's self-existent nature. And then they speak concerning the fact that God is worthy to be praised because God is the Creator. God created this vast universe in which we live. Let's talk about a really, really big explosion. You know, some people don't think that God created this universe, and some want to suggest we don't need to believe in God because we can explain the existence of this vast universe by a big explosion, the Big Bang. And so the suggestion is this: at one point in the past, interesting thought there, isn't it? There was a mass so dense that it contained all the matter that exists within the universe today. Not necessarily a large mass, but a dense mass. And within that dense mass, there was a fluctuation on the quantum level. Quantum physics, the study of the smallest particle of anything, on the smallest possible level, something fluctuated, and that dense mass exploded. And that explosion created all the order and evidence of design and intelligence that we see throughout this universe. That's the theory, anyway. But I have a question concerning the Big Bang, and that is this: what is the source of the matter? Where did the matter originate or come from that made up that dense mass? Someone says, well, tell me where God came from. We're talking about something very different. When we're talking about God, we're not talking about something that is made of matter. Everything made of matter had a beginning. God is spirit. That's very different from matter, isn't it? God is self-existent. He needs no beginning. But where did the matter come from for the Big Bang? Well, some say, well, M theory. gives us the explanation for that? Well, M theory, if I understand it correctly, has the idea with it that particles are tube-like or string-like in their shape and design, so that when they vibrate, perhaps it may help us to understand some of the ways in which things move and react on a quantum level. But then again, you're just talking about the shape of particles. How does that explain where those particles originated? It doesn't. It can't. Maybe you've heard of biochemical predestination. That's the idea that somewhere in this universe, some say here on Earth, some say perhaps somewhere else in the universe, there was a pool of water, maybe even a sea of some type of fluid in which was found all the amino acids necessary for the development of proteins. Well, I have some questions already. How did the sea originate? How did the amino acids get in there? But here's a problem with it. The idea is that sooner or later, surely these amino acids would have naturally sequenced together in order to develop the first protein. But that's not true. Because the amino acids need to be told or ordered to sequence. And you need DNA to do that. And if you don't have a cell yet developed, you don't have DNA. And if you don't have DNA, you don't have anything to tell the amino acids how to sequence. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Some say, oh, well, man is just a product of natural selection, that organisms react to the environment around them in such a way that they pass on those aspects of the organism that best suit that organism in their environment. Well, there are some that say to the point where maybe even an ape could become a man. How could something come out of a sea of amino acids end up on land and end up evolving into a creature based on adaptations to the environment around it? Not possible. Here's one of the ways in which we know that's not possible. Now that we're able to study things on a microbiological level with the electron microscopes that we have, we can see that there are some systems that are irreducibly complex, that is, systems that contain multiple components. None of those components function by themselves, and the system itself cannot function without all of the components, meaning this: if there are components within that system that do not function by themselves, they would not be passed on by natural selection. Natural selection cannot account for such systems. The idea that we're simply the product of evolution through natural selection fails. What about neo-Darwinian evolution? Adding in genetics. Well, I've read and heard some say that in order for us to evolve, we need to have a number of beneficial mutations. Multiple beneficial mutations happening at a fairly rapid rate to advance the organism or the species so that it becomes more complex. But that doesn't happen. We don't see that in nature. And where are the beneficial mutations? Oh, some have said that sickle cell anemia is a beneficial mutation. I know someone that has sickle cell anemia, and because of that, has the blood clots in various parts of the body that cause great pain for him. He in no way considers that a beneficial mutation. Neo-Darwinian evolution doesn't work either. Well, shouldn't the fossil record show us that life evolved from simpler life forms to more complex life forms as you come up through the layers of the earth? But it doesn't show us that, does it? When you and I look at the Cambrian explosion, we see an explosion of complex life forms here upon this earth all at once. What about the mathematical precision of the forces of this universe, some of which we have been able to study and identify, and we've written them down in the sense that we call them now scientific law? Scientific law, recognizing the mathematical precision of the forces of the universe. Doesn't that mathematical precision indicate intelligent design? And isn't that the only explanation for such precision in these scientific laws? Where there's law, there's a lawgiver. What about DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. Chemically stored, directed, organized, purposeful, intelligent information can only come from an intelligent source. If you knew nothing about the universe around you other than that you had some idea of the properties of DNA, you would have sufficient evidence to tell you that beyond a shadow of a doubt, there is, in fact, an intelligent creator. Albert Einstein understood it this way: a superior mind. Max Planck is considered to be the father of quantum physics, and he believed in God. I'm sure you've heard of Isaac Newton. He did a lot of early work in understanding gravity. He's the co-developer of calculus, and he believed in God. The universe could not have created itself, or then it would have to exist before itself. Matter is moving toward a less ordered state, and therefore it had a beginning. The universe had a beginning. Matter is not eternal. There must be something of a different nature than the material universe that is self-existent, and that is God. God is the self-existent spirit being who created this universe. God created you. You are a product of special creation. And that proves to me, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you are important. God loves you, and to God be the glory.